good morning. Have I told you that I really hate the way that most of news outlets put out the news? Or sometimes they're not even news, they're just gossip. But they use the multi-million-dollar system, huge networks, just to put out crap and rumors. So I'm gonna speak about a particular piece of news which people are making a fuss about here in Portugal. By the way, there are no news about talking about real news. Still no notice of my friend Russell Bentley. A warning has been put out to the military district of Donetsk, and we keep hoping. So, there was a ship apprehended by the Iranians and that ship happened to have a Portuguese flag. But if you know a little bit about shipping, I mean, you know that the flags of the ships it's crazy, right? There's a lot of ships that have a lot of flags from far away from the ship is, or from the nationality of the owner, of the nationality of the company. So you can have the flag pretty much from where you want. Well, not from where you want, but there are a group of countries which are typical to give the flag to the ship. This has to do with taxation, has to do with labor rules. So companies go where they think it's most profitable or most advantageous for them, and therefore they choose to register this ship to give it the flag of a certain country. So this one had the Portuguese flag, but no Portuguese crew, no Portuguese company, no Portuguese owner, no Portuguese cargo. And still the news, it's like the Iranians apprehend the Portuguese ship, and the ministers of foreign affairs are already moves, and they admit, for example, you have headlines like they admit stepping up measures against Iran. And when I read that, Portugal stepping up measures, what the it's a joke, right? You would never think that you would want to measure your strength with Iran, right? The Portuguese country's strength, military strength. But this is the titles, right? So this is titles to... The problem with this is that, of course, then when you read on, then you start to know a little bit more of what is going on. But it still doesn't tell you the whole picture, and it wouldn't be difficult to do so. It's not a mystery, right? It's how things work, and this really annoys me on the news. And so they say what the newspapers do is they go to the responsible politicians, because if the ship has the flag, this has been explained by a lawyer of international law, a Portuguese one, Alexandre Guerreiro. If you go to his channel, he explains this much better than me, of course, in Portuguese. And of course, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Portugal, because the flag is Portuguese, the process has to be handled through them, like kind of a moderator. But the problem here is not the ministers, what the ministers have to do or what the process is. It's what the newspapers make of the case, right? Iran is one of those countries which is already pretty much demonized everywhere, like Russia. So with this kind of news, it's just one more step for people to say, hey, look at them, oh, they're seizing our ships and they're our nation. This kind of rhetoric, nationalistic rhetoric. But nothing like that has happened. The reason the ship was seized is because it's an Israeli ship. The owner is Israeli. So it's a cargo container, and then of course people go complain about, oh, but it's violation of international law. Talking about Israel, right? It's funny how violation of international law, it's claimed only in some cases, but like Dr. Alexandre Guerreiro said, the law doesn't apply just when you need it. It's the law. It applies everywhere, right? So concerning those details of the law, I really advise you, if you understand Portuguese, to go to his channel. I think he puts, after a while, he puts subtitles to it. But the thing is that it has nothing to do with Portugal, if you go to the bottom of it. So there's no need to make fuss. It doesn't matter. Look, you can, again, in the case of many other countries, you can have a negative opinion about them. But if you have a negative opinion about any country, it's most likely because someone told you things about this country. If you haven't been there, if you don't know people from there, and you have a negative country about it, it's because someone told you about it. That someone are the news outlets and politicians, of course, with an agenda. American politicians above the rest. And so even if you don't like the country, we don't have the right to go and, I mean, the West is getting crazy, right? It's getting crazy. Europe, I mean, the United States is being the United States. They are the head of the empire. They are the empire. They run the empire. So they pretty much tell the others what to do, including the Europeans. It was not always like that. There was a time the Europeans had their own thinking heads, and they would stand up to decisions of the Americans. But there is a class of European politicians nowadays of very bad qualities, namely the low-cost version of evil on earth, which is Ursula von der Leyen, of course. I mean, they are evil. I mean, it's either two things, either evil or stupid, or both. So it's three things, actually. Three possibilities. Where I think stupidity and a little bit of evilness, like they don't really care about human life, for example. They don't care about children and innocent civilians dying in Gaza. They don't care about children washing up on shore on the Mediterranean coasts. They don't care about whole families, groups of families drowning in the Mediterranean. They don't care. They are insensitive to that. So it's evil, right? It's psychopathic. It's sociopaths. and so we have this class of politicians which are running all this system, which could be great. I mean, we could be living one of the greatest eras of our time. There is no need for this war. The only ones they are pushing through this war, and they made it so that the Europeans also push the same agenda because of narrow interests of few very powerful people. We live in this turmoil, which is like it's like a simulation. If you would, I mean, if people would meet and talk with the honest intention of sorting out problems, none of this would happen. Of course, I know this is a very naive vision of the world. We know that things are very much complex, and they are. What can I say? Iran attacked Portugal. Russia wants to invade Portugal as well. It was like this. I mean, this narrative still goes on. Once in a while, someone goes on TV and says crap like this. Utter bullshit. Remember when Medvedev spoke about Eurasia? From Lisbon to Vladivostok. It's because they want to invade Lisbon. It's Putin wants to invade Lisbon. This kind of slogans, this kind of headlines on the newspapers, this only contributes to increasing the stupidity of people who were already not very bright. I'm not blaming people in general, although sometimes I do feel tempted to do, because you can accuse me, you cannot expect everyone to know, to be interested in politics, to have general knowledge of things, to read, and people have very busy lives. I'm going to work right now. As you can see by the sun, it's the day shift. I've made these videos in the day shift, in the afternoon shift, and in the night shift. Tell me about busy. Got a family to run, and I live on wage to wage. Okay, I can be an exception, of course. I can be. But if you want to live in democracy, and if you value democracy, it's at least your minimum duty to know the minimum, the basics about things, about how things work. You don't have to be a specialist. That's why specialists exist. If everyone were a specialist, that's no specialist. That's common knowledge, right? That's no specialization. But so you don't have to be a specialist, but you have to be humble and wise enough to not believe at first sight. Right? Not at first sight, of course, not when you read something, immediately believe it, even from the sources you trust, especially when the issues that come in the news have several parts, several actors involved and in dispute. This is the main thing. Think, ask people you think are more knowledgeable about these matters. Read more, ask more. Wait a little while before making your judgment. Okay, guys, let's hope our friend Russell. Today is the 6th day of his disappearance. Okay, guys, see you on the next one.